pistol in her bathroom.
I remember that.
And then said, "Oh, it was just like leaving a cell phone."
I think I heard about
A
that.
police officer told me that because there was somebody who were having issues with, and so I had to call the ambassador's program, but the ambassador program sent the police over. And so, yeah, the guy was just telling me the story while this other dude was booking this other guy just casually. Just like this whole situation, this whole everything is too much. It's too much.
Too much.
All right, guys.
Have a great rest of the day.
So I put the water. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody's having a great morning. This along too. So before I get started, I just want to give my illustrious co-host, the Reverend Dr. Denise Donnell, an opportunity to greet you, and she has any announcements. Let's go ahead and give them out.
Grand Rising. Thank you so much, Tony. Humans, yes, it's good to be in the space with you this morning. I do have a few announcements to share with you on this day. Okay. So the first one that I have is that there is a vegan lunch dream happening today on Martin Luther King from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is an event by the Home. Remember, we were just celebrating the grand opening of the Home with Eleanor Wesley. And so 1523 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, that is where it is in Little Rock, 72205, 1523 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Vegan lunch dream on Martin Luther King, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Go out and support this Black woman entrepreneur doing it right here in our midst. Also tomorrow, which would be Friday, I think that's the 15th. Yes, Friday the 15th, there is a chat and chew happening at Mosaic Templars. It is a conversation with the 2024 Artist of the Year, Ebony Blevins, and that is happening at Mosaic Templars, which is located at 501 West 9th Street. Because 501 East 9th Street is the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, but 501 West 9th Street, isn't that interesting? West 9th Street is Mosaic Templars, and that's 72201, those of you who need to put it into your GPS. Also today at 7 p.m., the Made in Arkansas Film Festival presents Film Flicks, Arkansas Women in Film, and that is happening. That is an event by the Cowles Ron Robinson Theater, and that is where it is showing. The doors open at 6 p.m. and then it starts at 7 o'clock p.m. So those are the announcements that we have from the community. I also want to let you know that Domino's in the Park happens tomorrow from 5 to 7, but we usually stay till 8 because that's when the museum closes, at 501 East 9th Street at the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, up on the 3rd floor in the community lounge. And finally, In and Out with Tea. Woo woo! My mama is back. We are having a time with her from 1 to 4 p.m. right here at the sanctuary, 520 East 16th Street, on the corner of Park and 16th. You are welcome to come and spend any amount of time that you can. Just putting a smile on my mom's face. That's all we're doing, is putting a smile on my mom's face. So those are all of my announcements. Thank you for your patience, Tony. I appreciate that.
No problem. And so let me say this. I don't know where my mind was. Thank you, whoever was calling in. I know you were calling. I know the reason you were calling in is because I didn't hit the mic button. So I hit it. I did turn it on in the middle of your announcements, and I didn't realize it because I put my headphones on. I couldn't hear nothing, and I said, "Oh, I didn't turn the mic on." So I apologize. I'm not going to put we because it's on me. I apologize for not having the mic on and you're not being able to hear us for a couple of minutes. But also, I just want to take this time just to thank all of you. Still getting donations, still getting pledges in every day. I just want to thank you for taking the time to support KABF 88.3 FM. One of only a handful, one of only 12 1,000-watt community radio stations here in this country that's completely community radio, not one genre, just all about the people, all about community radio. And we just want to thank you for support. You can still continue to support KABF. You can go to www.kabf.org and you can click the donate button. Why are you clicking that button? Become a sustaining member of KABF 88.3. Your monthly contribution will go to that sustainability. We've been doing this for KABF has been around for almost 40 years. We'll be 40 years in August, and we're still moving forward. We're still going strong. This 100,000-watt platform for enlightenment, education, and empowerment. You can also call 372-501-372-6119, and you can give your pledge to our program director, You can also call one of your favorite shows at 501-433-0088 and pledge or donate that way. You can also send a check of money order to 2101 South Main Street here in Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. And if you just want to come, we've had quite a few people who have come up the steps, give a donation, and then they look over in the office and they see all these boxes of CDs, and and say, "Oh, can I get one?" And they say, "Take as many as you want. Whatever you see over there, whatever you find in that box, take it." Because we just want to make sure that we're not only giving back through our shows, but just giving back through some of the things we have. And we don't mind. In fact, if you are looking for just to get some CDs, stop by the station and help yourself to the CDs. We have no problem with that. So we want to get into the show this morning. I want to hit some bullet points first. I'm going to bring up some points. And then we'll go back and discuss these points. But I think it's very important that we talk about this, especially during this election year, because when you are talking about, we talk about voting, but we also talk about who are you voting for and what are you voting for? How is your vote impacting your life and the lives of others? So the first point I want to bring up is Governor Sanders has said that she's going to propose, not an executive order like she did with so many other things that she wanted to get done. She is putting a proposal to the General Assembly during this fiscal session that starts next month, that she wants to raise the minimum wage of state employees to $15 an hour, at least $15 an hour, which is crazy because you won't raise the minimum wage for the state of Arkansas to $15 an hour, but you want to raise it for state employees.
Well, that's because she's not hiring anybody.
That's it.
So we can raise it, but we're not going to hire anybody.
She also wants to put a 3% raise in during this fiscal year, but by 2025, she wants to have a 5% raise for state employees, which on the surface, it seems like that's a great idea. And don't get me wrong, any raise for workers is to me is a win. But when you look at the discrepancy at the top, so a 5% raise for somebody making, the average salary for state workers is right around $31,000 a year. So 5%, yeah, that's gonna jump you up. But if you're making $150,000, a 5% raise is really going to push you up also. And the problem is with me is that she put it as a proposal. So if it gets shot down, which we have been trying for over 8 years to get the legislature to do this, if it gets kicked back, she can say, well, I proposed it, and they kicked it back. Not only, and she also has the power to veto what they did, or she just has the power to say, I'm doing an executive order, it's done. And but to me, it's just her way of just, it's a dog and pony show, because she know they're gonna kick it back.
Well, wouldn't that give her a raise too? That's gonna give her a raise too as well.
Yes, it does. Well, no. It doesn't give her a raise because all constitutional officers, their raises have to go through the legislature. It has to go through the legislature. The second thing is, and like I said, as we go through, then we will come back and just have a discussion, whichever topic we want to come back. We want to talk about at that moment. Ban on TikTok. The House voted to put a ban on TikTok.
No ban on guns.
No ban on guns.
Okay, but a ban on TikTok.
But a ban on TikTok.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah. Another thing, so the House passed the bill in January, right before tax season was going to start, to expand the child tax credit for low income families. So people who are making below a certain threshold, it was going to expand the child tax credit. It passed the House overwhelmingly, like 372 to like 50. So it was a bipartisan measure that was voted on. It has stalled in the Senate because Republicans in the Senate, they claim that this bill is going to be too generous to low-income families. Too generous. And they also stated that.
But it's for the children.
Yes.
And they're pro-life.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah. And they also stated that if they expanded this child tax credit, part of the bill would let you go back 1 year and claim the child tax credit. And they said they believe it would incentivize people not to work, because it's only like $2,000. So if you say you got one child and you get $4,000, it's gonna stop you from working. That you're not gonna go to work because you got $4,000.
But people who are poor, when we think about Alice meaning asset limited, income constrained, employed. We're talking about people who are poor and they work. So the Republicans continue to push these false narratives as if people who are lower income don't want to work, but they are the working poor. So it's just ridiculous.
It is. And because of this stall, it hasn't rolled out for the tax season. And that's what the original bill, that was the original idea. And what's so crazy about this is the bill was written and sponsored by Republicans. They did the bill. And they're like, okay. And now Republicans in the Senate are like, no. And this is where the politics come in, because they believe, one correspondent said Republicans believe that if this passes, it gives President Biden something to use in his campaign.
Oh, so let's talk about what's really going on.
Yeah. It's about the politics. We don't care that you're starving. We don't care that you can't make ends meet. We don't care. It's all about our agenda. And another thing that's in this bill is there's funds available for all the states to develop low-income housing. So you're trying to, let's give them a tax break, where they can get a little extra money. Let's create low-income affordable housing where they can use some of this money that they're getting back to get into housing, or incentivize banks to get mortgages for low-income housing. But you don't want that. But you constantly say, we're looking out for the quality of life of the people. I'm like you, just saying. The other thing is, Department of the Agriculture Committee has spent the last 2 years, and no telling how much money, doing a survey of why there is a low workforce in the agriculture industry. That it's so hard for them to find workers to come out and work in the agricultural field. And when I say the agricultural field, I'm talking about workers who actually go out and do the labor of, harvesting and making sure that the crops get in. And so they were like, we can't find workers to do this. And it goes back to this policy that was implemented with former President Trump, where he put a limit and he put a restriction on workers who could get these visas, these temporary work visas, where they will come in and do work. Now, these visas have been in place for years. Nobody ever said anything until former President Trump started talking about how murderers and rapists and drug dealers were coming across the southern border and contaminating, American soul. And so once that happened, once that was said, then they start restricting. But going back to what we've talked about previously, is that who is it hurting and who is it affecting? It's affecting those farmers. And to the life of me, I don't understand when I hear farmers say at the state capitol that they rather lose everything. They rather, this farm has been in my family for generations, but I'd rather lose it. I'd rather for it be foreclosure. I'd rather have nothing than not to vote for this man who's going to make sure I have nothing. And it's like, what?
Yes, but he's going to make sure that you are able to hold on to your racism. So that's more important than the farm.
Yeah, so we work for state employees, TikTok, low income. So those are the topics I want to talk about today, or we want to have discussion about. Phone lines open, 501-433-0088, 501-433-0088. I want to start with going backwards. I want to start with this minimum wage for state employees. I was talking to someone the other day, and they brought up an interesting question. So why do state employees pay income tax? Why should they pay income tax? Why should our military pay income tax? If you are serving the country, then shouldn't you get a tax break and have to pay income tax? If you are a state employee who is getting paid by the state, and so you're paying income tax, so it's almost like you, in a way, you're paying your own self. So why can't they? Because then you wouldn't have this issue of these raises. You wouldn't have this issue because that would be it may be enough of if you're not paying taxes, then that means that you're making, you say you're making $31,000, $35,000, $40,000 a year, then you getting all that money, and so that helps you because now you don't have to worry about this taxes coming out, and then I think it would incentivize more for people who are in government work. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm wondering my understanding is that the purpose of taxes is to fund the government to take care of the people. Is that the correct use of tax?
Yes.
So if that's the correct use of taxes, then I think one could argue that by exempting those people from paying the taxes, then that reduces the amount of money that we have to care for the people, including them, right? Because even though they're serving the country through their employment with the state and with the military, they are still part of the communities, and we still have to take care of them as citizens of the community. And so I could see how one would argue against that, because look how much money you have now withdrawn from us, that you've taken from us, that we could be using for the people. Now, I understand the argument about how they use the money, but that's just not what I'm talking about right now. Yeah. Right now, I'm just talking about, I can see why people would say we need that money because it's supposed to be used to help the people, including them and their families.
Yeah. But also, wouldn't it be also conducive if you gave state employees some type of tax break? Because you're giving a tax break to the rich. You're lowering their taxes,
and you're not worried about them not working while they on the golf course.
So it's and we know that it becomes this shell game, this hide and seek. To me, is that I'm going to have the rich over here, but I'm seeking out the poor.
Oh, sure. But I think that for me, I feel like we spend a lot of time. When I say we, I'm talking about this world, this society. We spend a lot of time trying to come up with Band-Aids to deal with our problems, when I really feel like we shouldn't have the conversations about tax breaks if you would pay people a sustainable wage.
Right.
Like if you, and I'm not talking about $15. That's not a sustainable wage to me. I'm not talking about $20. That's not a sustainable wage to me. But you're giving people enough money to care for their families in ways that eliminate the needs for tax breaks and social programs and all of those things. So why don't we deal with that instead of saying, oh, what about a tax break? What about a this? What about a that? No, why don't you just pay people what they should be receiving?
And you're right, but it also goes back. And I know people draw a line in the sand, and they say they're on one side of the other. So my thing when it comes to how our money is being spent, I was always taught, and I'm not speaking for you, Denise, but I have an idea that you, in some way, somehow, this may have been something that you grew up understanding from your parents. Is that you want to be able to help your neighbor, but you take care of your home first. You make sure home is well taken care of, then I can go out and help my neighbor. Because if I don't, if my home is lacking and I'm trying to help my neighbor, then how can I adequately help my neighbor? Then both of us gonna be lacking in a lot of ways. So I understand there are countries, I understand there's things you want to support, but when you start supporting other countries and other causes at the expense of your people, I'm not gonna help anybody if my children are gonna suffer. That's just not gonna happen. And so when you start talking about this money, so much money is being thrown away that this money can be used. You shouldn't have to do a survey to figure out that, do a 2-year study to figure out how do we get people to come in and work in the agriculture field. You don't have to do a study to figure out how do we get people back into the work. This is how you do it. And one way you do it, you're sending $1 trillion out to other places. That I understand they got their issues, but what about the issues here? And then when you read that these elected officials that were voted into office will stop and say, you know what? I know you poor. I know you don't have affordable housing. I know you're not getting paid a living wage on your job, but you know what? Us helping you right now, I think that's too generous. You need to pull yourself up. I pulled myself up and look at me.
And that's a lie. No, you didn't.
No, you did.
I think that a couple of things I want to say. First, yes, I did learn that in my home about taking care of yourself. But not only did I learn it in my home, I preached it from the pulpit and I taught it as a pastor, that you should give out of your overflow. Because what would happen is I would have members of the congregation, my parishioners, would come into the office because they would need money to pay bills. They would need money for bills, whatever they needed money for, they would come and ask. And when we were having conversation, we would find that many of them had given their money, had offered their money to their neighbors to help, hoping that the neighbor would pay them back in time for them to pay their bills. If the neighbor does not pay them back on time, now they cannot pay their bills. And so it's important for me to get them to understand that I do not believe that Jesus is calling you to lose your home because you're trying to help your neighbor. I believe that what Jesus is calling us to do, this was at the time that I was preaching, I'm talking about when I was preaching, what Jesus is calling us to do is to work in a way that all of us are in community together and none of us have lack. And so how do we do that? We create the overflow and we give from the overflow so that everyone is able to meet their needs, satisfy the needs of their household, and not only their needs, but some of their wants as well. So I just wanted to say that, yes, I learned that at home and I was a staunch preacher of that message as well. Then I also want to talk about the complications of the money that's being sent. When we say, well, we're sending this money to these countries, and we could be using that here. I think part of the conversation is about America creates the situations in other countries where the countries need this money. And so now on some level, America is responsible for the mess they have made in these other countries. So I can see how one would argue, yeah, you ought to be doing something because this is what you did to these people, right? And so then the question again goes back to the point, the conversation again has to include, why don't you stop the practices that cause the problems that make you feel like you have to give them this money. And then, so that's one, I think that there's one argument there. And then the other argument, I think, is that I feel like we have to just, you know how some people say call a spade a spade. We have to say that America is not interested in Americans. America is not interested in its children. When you have Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying that she does not think that mothers deserve an extended year on Medicaid after they have given birth, but she wants to ban TikTok. Or you say, well, that's important. It's not important for me to extend Medicaid, but it's important for me to ban TikTok. It's not important for me to extend the tax credit, give tax credits that will benefit children, but it is important for me to block them from going to the bathroom at school that makes them feel comfortable. You are not concerned about your children. And I really feel like when we decide that, when we realize that that is the truth, we will raise up in a different way. Because I really think that some people are still hoping and wishing and praying that one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, America's gonna get it right. They're gonna do right by us. And they have proven for centuries that they're not gonna do right by us.
No. And you are correct. And that's what I meant when I started out with saying, do you know who you're voting for? And do you know what you're voting for? Or are you just so locked in to say, I'm a Republican and I don't care what they do. I don't care what they vote on. I don't care how they act. I don't care. I'm just going to vote. I'm just going to vote.
But that's just it.
They're
not. That's not what they're doing. They're saying this is what I believe. They're saying which party will allow me to continue to be racist? Which party will allow me to continue to be anti-Black? Which party will allow me to continue to fight poor people rather than poverty? Which party will allow me to be a hypocrite on every aspect of life? Which party will allow me to do whatever I want to do with impunity? Which party is that? Oh, that's the Republican Party. That's who I'm voting for.
And I think my one pushback on that is that I do agree with what you're saying, but I think it's both parties.
Well, you were just talking about the Republican Party, so that's why I was saying Republican Party. That's what you said.
Yeah, it's both parties, and you get these elected officials, and I'm not saying all elected officials aren't trying to look out for the good of the people, but the majority of them have an agenda, and they're going to follow that agenda. You know, and when your life becomes an agenda, when everyday life becomes an agenda, then you lose the humanity of the people.
I just want to go back again when you said it's both parties. I'm not going to say that there are not racist people in the Democratic Party. I would not dare say that. But the Democrats don't run on a racist agenda, and the Republicans do. So I want to stick with what I see. I want to stick with what I see. Okay, let me get these comments in from Phyllis Brown. The United States has agreed to provide Israel with nearly $4 billion a year through 2028. That is the truth. Listen again. The United States has agreed to provide Israel with nearly $4 billion a year through 2028. That is the truth. Now, is that generous? I'm just wondering. And then she also says Republicans do care because it punishes people. Republicans do care because it punishes people. So that goes back to me saying that the agenda that the Republican Party pushes, that they promote, is all about making sure that they can hold on to hate, hold on to discrimination, hold on to punishment, hold on to all of these things that are antithetical, right, to who we say that we're supposed to be as Americans. But we cannot pretend like this hypocrisy is new to us, right? When we go back to the Declaration of Independence, where it says we believe that all men were created equal.
White land on.
But that's not what it says. That's not what it says. It says we believe that all men. So the hypocrisy is baked into the country. And so again, I don't know why we keep acting like we are so surprised by the actions of these people. We can't believe that they are doing this. They haven't stopped doing it.
I think it's this thing that there are so many people in this country, in this world, who refuse to believe that another person. It's one thing is, that another person is that evil or that is really don't care. It's one thing to see if someone goes out and kills 20 people. I think it's a lot easier for a lot of people to say, "Oh, that's an evil person. Oh, they deserve what they get. They should be put in jail. They should be executed. Whatever, however they frame it." But then, when you see an elected official who refuses to pass legislation that's going to help poor people, that's going to pass legislation that's going to stop hate, that's going to pass legislation that's going to open the doors for people to be people, to be free in whatever identity they have. You're like, oh, I know they're not a mean person. I know they're not an evil person. They're just trying to figure out, what's the best way. So we give them that out because we refuse to believe that this person can be that hateful.
I'm not sure they refuse to believe it. What I believe is that, just using your analogy, the person who kills 20 people over there has nothing to do with me. This is what I believe these people are thinking that you're talking about. I'm not impacted by that. But what this politician is doing by allowing me to hold on to my anti-Blackness or my punishment of people, then that's directly affecting me. So I don't want to do anything that's going to harm the person that is giving me what I want. This person over here, I don't care what happens to them because they don't have anything to do with me. I'm not connected to them. I'm not linked to them. I don't benefit from them. I don't care. But this politician, I benefit from what they're doing. And so I want to protect them. I want to give them cover.
And I think that's where it gets so twisted, because this person over here that just killed 20 people, it does impact you. And the reason it impacts you, because that gun that he used should have been, there should have been some legislation that controlled that. It's just like they just.
But then if that's the case, I need to use him as a scapegoat. Because then if you pass legislation that bans that gun, that means I can't have mine, right?
Yeah.
So again, I don't care what you do to him as long as you're talking about one person. When you start talking about passing legislation, you're talking about what affects everybody.
Right.
So again, focus on that one person, focus on that one person, focus on that one person. So you will not do anything that is going to strip me of the rights I believe I'm supposed to have.
But then, and we used this word a minute ago, the hypocrisy, because I don't want anything that's going to be a negative impact on me, even though it's something that needs to happen because it's going to benefit the society as a whole. I don't want to be negatively impacted. It's just like, when we talk about this money that's going to Israel, $4 billion a year on top of whatever you spend. That $4 billion is just, it's just, we're going to give you this. That's just the standard. That's just the threshold. Oh, but we're going to give you more. We're going to give you weapons. We're going to give you ammunition. We're going to give you everything to murder. And so
rebuild, yeah.
When you look at it, there were so many people that I talked to last week when they were giving aid. These humanitarian trucks were in Gaza trying to give food, trying to give aid to the Palestinians, and Israeli soldiers opened up on them. Killed around 100, 120, and the Israeli soldiers said, "Oh, we were threatened. We feared for our life because of the mob, because they weren't attacking you. They were just trying." They surrounded the convoy. When you desperate, that's what you do. They surround the convoy. Even the drivers, they weren't afraid because they know these people just trying to get this aid. But the Israeli soldiers opened up and they said, "We feared for life." How many times you've heard that before?
America teaches other countries a whole lot of things. Let me get this comment in from Deidre. The United States has been financially supporting Israel since its inception. The United States has been financially supporting Israel since its inception. And so when you have these conversations about how the United States has been supporting Israel since its inception, and it has pledged to give nearly $4 billion a year to Israel through 2028. And Israel is the type of country that will open fire on people who are simply trying to be fed. What does that say about the United States? Why would you put your support around a group of people that has this kind of ideology? And then why would you say that the whole reason that we are in this war is because it's Hamas's fault for raising up against what has been happening to them at the hands of Israel all of this time? So that's why we have to have broader conversations, because we have to say, this is about something else.
It is. And so when you talk about money, and that's why sometimes, I try to use the analogy of your home. So if money is getting ready to go out of your house, whether you have a partner, whether it's you, you're single, you're gonna sit down and think, okay, what is this money going to, I have to spend this money out, or I'm going to send this money, however you look at it, how's it going to benefit me? What's going to be the benefit, of me, of me doing this? The benefits of, what's going to be the benefits and what's going to be the negativity once this money goes out? Where's it going to lead me? And so when you look at the U.S., and not just with Israel, with Ukraine, with all these countries, we're giving money to Taiwan, you're giving all this money out. But do you go to the people who give you this money? It ain't like the United States, it's not like they got a safe back there in somewhere in the Capitol and they just go open the safe and grab this money. No, that money comes from us. But we're never in the discussion about how that money is being spent.
But I do think that we are in the discussion. Hold on, let me see this, what Phyllis is saying. I need to know, where is the compassion for the people in the Sudan? What I need to know is, where is the compassion for the people in the Sudan? That's a wonderful question. Here's another question. This is Raman. Does the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund have anything to do with that? Does the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund have anything to do with that? That's the question he's asking. Do with, I guess, you're talking about the money, like where the money, all this money that they're spending.
No.
Okay, so here is Deidre again. The United States supports Israel because it is the only non-Arab/white representative in the oil-rich Middle East, which acts as the United States Middle East strongman. Let me say that again. The United States supports Israel because Israel is the non-Arab/white representative in the oil-rich Middle East, which acts as the United States Middle East strongman. So she's giving us a reason why, because I said this is about something else. So she's giving us the answer to the something else.
Yeah.
And what I want to say, this is what I was going to say. That you said they're not coming to us and asking us about the money. And since you used the analogy of the home, I'm going to stick with that. When you are in a family and the people who are leading the family, the people who are responsible for the finances in the family, everybody trusts those people to make the best decisions about what to do with the money because of their position in the family. If you hold the position as head of the household, if you hold the position of being partnered and together you are the head of the household, whoever it is that's leading the household, everybody says, okay, because you lead the household, we believe that you are going to do what is best for us. So we are trusting that you will make the right decisions. So we are involved in the conversation because we vote for those people to serve as the head of our household. So if the country is our home, then the people that we put in leadership, we're saying we expect you to do right by us. So we're trusting you with this position. And so my mom and daddy didn't come to me and say, hey, what you think about us spending this money right here? They didn't do that. They didn't come to us. The money was spent the way that they wanted to spend it, based on the fact that they were leading the family. So we are a part of it. That's why voting is so important.
Right.
So you are voting for these people to lead your household, and they are stripping you. They are draining your finances. They're using you, and we are sitting back not saying anything about it. When I say we, some of us, not everybody, of course, but for the majority of the people who are voting for these folks that are making, that are mishandling our money, misappropriating our funds, then we need to raise up and say something. We need to say something by voting. That's where our voice is at the ballot box.
Yeah, two things I want to comment on, and you're so right. And because, and that's why I said at the beginning of the show that who are you voting for and what are you voting for? What is who are you giving your voice to speak for you? And when you hear about these atrocities, when you hear about these things, but then you sit back and say, well, they know what's best, you know, and then you complain about what you don't have, but you're voting against your best interest. You're voting for someone who doesn't have your best interest at heart. And also, and I think this is, I think people lose sight of this one thing, and I'm glad, I think it was Phyllis or Deidre who brought up about the Sudan.
Phyllis.
So what about Haiti? We don't, the Prime Minister of Haiti went before the UN and begged, we need security. We need UN intervention in our country so that we can get it stable. They voted no.
So here's where Deidre's comment comes in. Deidre says, Phyllis Brown, they have been killing 30,000 people in various countries in Africa on a daily basis. Colonization is still happening via African genocide, but no one considers that important. Let me say that again. Phyllis Brown, Deidre's responding to Phyllis, but she's talking to all of us. They have been killing 30,000 people in various countries in Africa on a daily basis. Colonization is still happening via African genocide, but no one considers it important.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish.
I was just going to say what you were saying. We're voting against our best interests, and I keep talking about anti-blackness because I'm going to center black folks all the time. But people are also trying to hold on to patriarchy and sexism and all of those things. And so you keep saying that they're voting against their best interests, and what I'm saying is no, they believe that is their best interest. My anti-blackness is my best interest. My racism is my best interest. My sexism is my best interest. My patriarchy is my best interest. That's what they're thinking. That's what I believe with all my heart. That's what they're more concerned about.
Yeah, you know, and you're right on that point. Is that when you look at the Congo, you look at Sudan, you look at Somalia, you look at all these countries that, and I always, you know, and it reminds me of when Vice President Kamala Harris went to Africa on a tour, and the last stop was Ghana. And she did a speech, and she said that the U.S. is gonna invest in Africa. We're gonna, you know, give aid to Africa. And there was such a backlash. It was such a backlash. How dare her? In fact, you know, you had these there were some congressmen who wanted to bring her up, you know, wanted to do a congressional hearing. They want to have a, you know, come for her to come and speak before Congress, asking why, who gave you the authority to talk about what
the people did, because we voted her in. That's who did.
And it's so amazing. And you know, and the one thing that I feel so fortunate that I get an opportunity to go to these countries, and I've been to Africa, and I know you've been to Africa too, you know, and to help be a voice for them, to help organize them, to help them stand up, to help them, to give them all the help that they need.
Wait, hold on just a minute. I don't think that's what the people in Africa need. I think they need us to organize in America up against our own country who's doing it to them. We're going to go over there and help them deal with what we're doing to them. Well, we need to be working here to stop what we are doing to hurt them.
Yeah, and that's part of it. I agree with you that that we're working on, we're working both sides. And what I mean by working both sides, we're getting them the tools. We're getting them tools that they can use, but also we're pushing back against these companies. We're pushing back against the bowlers. We're pushing back against the banks. We're pushing back against these countries or these entities that all they want to do is rape, burn, and pillage the African continent.
But what tools can America give to Africa that are not made by the master's hands? So Audre Lorde says you cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. So the organizer, if you are a part of the system and you say, well, I'm gonna go over here and help you, I'm gonna give you the tools to help you dismantle the system that we come from.
And the tools are, it's insight. The tools are education.
You're not following what I'm saying. Oh, I thought you were gonna keep talking. What I'm saying is, listen to what I'm saying. For American people to decide that they are privileged enough, knowledgeable enough, trustworthy enough, have the expertise to go over to Africa to give them tools. They're coming from a country that continues to oppress them. So we're gonna come as representatives of the country that
No, you're not coming as representatives of America.
But you're American, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well you can't divest from being American.
But that's like saying that if that's the case, then every organization is like that.
And I would say yes, they are.
Then if that's the case, then why are we taking the time to educate people on voting, to educate people on civil rights?
You're doing that here. You need to do the work here.
So if you do the work here, so you're telling me
if we do the work here, then America will stop oppressing the other folks. You don't need to go over to Ghana if we stop oppressing them.
Okay, well, it's the same thing. If we quit oppressing people here, then we don't need to organize people here. We don't need to go anywhere to organize people. If we quit oppressing people here. If we would stop
oppression, yes, you would not need to go to Ghana.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that even as an American here, I'm not supposed to try to organize people here?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's exactly what I am saying. As an American, the work that we should be doing is in America to dismantle the systems in America that are causing the harm in Ghana. You want to go help Ghana? If you want to help Ghana, fix America.
And so I believe that you can do both.
We wouldn't have to do both if we would get ourselves together.
You're right. But right now, we got to play the hand that we got. We have to play the hand that we got. And this and the hand that we have is that we have to, as organizers, regardless of where you're from, regardless of what country you're from, we as organizers realize this has to stop. And we have to stop it as wherever we have to go. And we have to educate people, say this is what's happening, not just in Africa, but in the UK, wherever we go, it's like, this is what's going on. Here's your voice. Let's oppose this and let's stand up and fight.
Okay, well then let me ask this. Here's what Deidre says. You ain't got no tools. You ain't got no tools. And so if you have the tools that you can use, that you can take to Ghana to help them organize and do what they need to do, why those tools ain't working in America?
They are.
Oh, okay. Hold on a minute. Let me keep going. Clean your own. This is Deidre again. Clean your own house first. You've been talking about taking care of your house first. Clean your own house first. And then here's Ramen. Does the World Bank and the International Monetary have anything to do with neo-colonialism in Africa? Does the World Bank and the International Monetary have anything to do with neo-colonialism in Africa? That's the question.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Well, I'm not in this space at all. This is not my realm. I'm not in this space. I was about to say the same thing. So Deidre says, Ramen, of course they do. I was about to say the same thing. This world runs on racism. It runs on that. So anytime that we see this kind of, this is a structured, intentional, systematic approach to oppression and to colonialism and to colonization. Yes, everybody's in on. That's why it's important for us to talk about the 1619 project, because one of the things I love about what she's done is connect the dots. And everybody's hands are dirty. The man who is that congressperson that's talking about moving the boxes for Trump? He says everybody's hands are dirty. We all had our hands on those boxes. We were all moving them. And that's how it is in this world. All of us are guilty. Absolutely we are. So I would say yes, Ramen. They have something to do with it. I agree with Deidre. And then Phyllis says, of course.
Yeah. And here's the...
Wait. One more before you get started. Here's another comment. Here's Deidre. Capitalism uses the tool of racism to increase their revenue. Let me say that again. Capitalism uses the tool of racism to increase their revenue.
I've said this numerous times, and this is just my belief. This is just my opinion. Don't have to agree with it. Capitalism is the engine. All the other isms is the fuel that drives the engine. Because at the end of the day, capitalism can only function through racism, oppression, sexism, patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. Capitalism can only function. If you get rid of all those other things, capitalism, can't run. It can't run because in order to...
You're saying that, but capitalism began with we trying to figure out how we gonna make money, and so let us use these bodies for free labor. Correct?
No.
Oh my goodness.
No, wait, hold on.
Oh my goodness, that was the purpose of people being. Wait. Here's ramen. Let me get ramen in. What is the worst? What is worse? What is worse? The spider or the spider web? What is worse? The spider or the spider web?
The spider web.
Okay, and then Phyllis says what? So we're gonna let you keep going with this thing you're talking about.
When you first started, you said capitalism, and then you said bodies. I agree with you that part of capitalism was figuring out.
That's how it started, is what I'm saying.
No, capitalism didn't start with enslaving people. Capitalism started with, let me go over here and conquer people. We're gonna kill you.
Okay, but my point is, for capitalism to get started, to launch, the launching pad was the desecration of bodies. Was it not?
Yes.
Okay, so the desecration of bodies led to the free labor. So I'm always rooted in Blackness. And so that's why I started there. But absolutely, the point is that you take these bodies and you use them any way you want to get money. So it starts with you wanting the money, but how you gonna get it? You say, oh, let me go and do whatever I want. I'm gonna rape. I'm gonna slaughter, I'm gonna displace, I'm gonna enslave, I'm gonna lynch, I'm gonna do all of those things. So you cannot talk about capitalism, and because if you just focus on capitalism, you leave that part out. And I'm not gonna let you leave that part out.
What I'm saying is that all those things fuels capitalism. If you're not doing these things, you don't have capitalism. If you don't have this, you don't have capitalism. So in order for capitalism to function, you have to desecrate, you have to enslave. You have to impress.
But maybe you'll get it if I put it in biblical terms. Let's talk about Lucifer. Lucifer was an angel in heaven, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Lucifer was an angel. One day he decided that he was gonna fight God for God's kingdom, right?
Right.
Okay. Where did that idea come from? He was already living. People were already existing. The heaven was already going. Just everything was going fine. All of a sudden, he decided he gonna be better than God. Is that right? Just decided for himself. So how am I gonna be better than God? What's the first thing I gotta do? I gotta conquer these angels, right? That's the first thing I gotta do. So the idea is formed, but in order for the idea to manifest, you got to go and get these bodies. So you ain't got capitalism yet. You got desecration of bodies first. That's what you got.
Yeah, but the thought in the mind is capitalism. How do I conquer? That's what a thought is. And the only way I can conquer is I have to do this. So,
right, so it starts with your desecration.
It starts with the thought.
Yes, but how do you manifest the thought? You can have any thoughts you want, but you can't manifest. How many thoughts do you have that don't manifest?
Like I said.
Hold on just a minute. We got to go, but I want to get these last statements in. So Deidre asks the question, what is the ism for Black folk to use as a tool? Because you're using capitalism as a tool for racism. So she said, what is the tool? What is the ism that Black folks can use as a tool? And then here's Brahmin. No spider equals no spider web. Tear down spider web plus spider equals future spider web. Wait, what now? No spider equals no spider web. Tear down spider web plus spider equals future spider web. Rami, I know we got to go, but can you I still want to know. I know we got to go, but I still want to know. Help me understand what you're saying.
Okay. Well, we got to get out of here. So
yeah, you can just write it. You can just type it.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Great conversation. We'll pick this back up Thursday after next. And next Thursday is the third. I think it's the third Thursday.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I won't even be here Thursday after next. Yeah. So
that's right.
You can pick it up. Hey, everybody enjoy it.
Okay.
Everybody enjoy it. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.